This episode is sponsored by UPMC Elite Orthopedics. UPMC Elite Orthopedics is proud to support youth sports across our region and proud to sponsor Scholastic Mirror on the Altoona Mirror YouTube channel. To learn more about their board-certified orthopedic surgeons and the wide range of orthopedic conditions they treat, or to schedule an appointment in one of their facilities in Hollidaysburg or Bedford, visit upmcaltoona.com/ortho or call 814-889-3600.
Hello again, everybody, and for the first time, we're coming to you not to talk to you on the Altoona Mirror YouTube TV channel. This is called Scholastic Mirror. We are not just about high school football. This year, we're trying something new, and we are going to talk about other high school sports, discuss the landscape of high school sports, with swimming, rifle, wrestling, boys and girls basketball. We're going to get into the spring sports, and if this thing takes off, we'll be talking about track and field. We'll be talking about baseball and softball and what have you. I am joined again by the two gentlemen that you recognize from high school football. Mike Boydum is more than high school football. He does a lot of basketball stuff for us. Andy Stein wrestled in high school, covers Penn State wrestling for us, but he'll be able to give us a perspective for high school wrestling as well. This is all new to us, so we're winging this here as we go. So if it looks like we don't know what we're doing, well, then you really know that you've got our first episode underway. The first topic of discussion we're going to talk about, and again, my name is Scott Franco. I just realized I didn't say that, but I'm pretty sure
everybody knows who you are.
That's true. I wish I would have wore something special, something more indoorsy, not a spring baseball, which I'll have to wear again come springtime. But the first thing we're going to talk about that Mike's brought up for us have been the conference fits because of the realignment with the Laurel Highlands, the Heritage, the ICC the past 2 years. And tell us about some of those programs that mostly were affected by that.
Yeah, I just think it's been interesting how things have been playing out and everything. Some schools are having a lot of success and some are struggling, which we thought might happen. I give credit to the Bellwood Annis girls. I think they've gotten off to a pretty decent start in basketball. Now, the boys program, they were a little bit slow starting this year. They've been picking up a little bit as the year has gone on, but it's been a tough transition. Tyler Murdoff, I think, is a good guy to be in charge of that program. He's just a superstar player at Tyrone, and now he's in charge of the Bellwood program. And I think that the pieces are there to make things come around, but it just takes a while. And, what do you guys think about the Bellwood part of the transition going to the Laurel Highlands?
Well, I'm curious because what I was going to ask you is about the wrestling portion, because there are basketball teams, tons of basketball teams. Yeah. Not every high school has a wrestling program, so yeah, something like Bellwood, who doesn't have a lot of numbers to begin with, but I got to think that's tough for them there because, you can't.
Yeah. It's hard it's especially for a school like Bellwood. I believe it's the smallest besides BG. It's the smallest school in the conference. So, I think it was going to be. I fall into the category of just thinking about how this affects football. I'm guilty of it. A lot of people are guilty of it, but you got to think about all sports as well. It's going to be a transition for literally every sport at a school like Bellwood. So, it's good to see that Bellwood boys are starting to get it off the ground a little bit, and the girls, like usual, they're still off to a pretty good start.
And one thing I noticed is, they've struggled against these Laurel Highlands teams. I think they started off 2-2, and then they lost 6 or 7 in a row to Laurel Highlands teams. But then they played Juniata Valley and Williamsburg, who are two of the top teams in the ICC, the team where they used to be playing, and they got convincing victories against those teams. So it's funny because you see it and you think, oh, their record's bad, but they might be actually playing better this year because they've had better competition, because when they are playing these ICC teams, they were able to dominate those games where, who knows if they were playing an ICC team every night, whether the team would have actually gotten better. So sometimes it doesn't mark in the record, but the team may actually be better because of the experience they've gotten.
Well, I think the Bellwood girls were going to be good because of who they hired. Kylie Longo coached under Swaney. I'm old enough to remember when she played, I believe, point guard at Hollidaysburg, and she was a good basketball player in high school, so that's just a matter of time for them. The Tyler Murder thing, I think Mike was away the one game. I couldn't believe they beat Williamsburg, and I think there was somebody else they beat.
Juniata Valley.
Valley. Yeah. And I just thought, again, Tyler Murder came up in a Tyrone program where he played, a lot of sports, where he just was not used to losing. And maybe sometimes a coach can will that onto his players, and maybe that's what's going on with Bellwood boys basketball.
So speaking of that, we actually talked to Tyler, and here's what he had to say about the process of, Bellwood's progression in the Laurel Highlands. Okay, here with Coach Murdiff. You've had some close games this year. What is the key to turning the corner and starting to turn some of those close ones into wins?
Well, like I said, I tell the team every day, we got to learn how to win. In a conference like this, every game's going to be a close, tight battle. So right now we got to get over that hump. And like I said, hopefully tonight we can do that with the game against Juniata Valley.
What are some of the things that makes it tough in the Laurel Highlands where like every night it seems like you have a really tough team coming into either your gym or you're going on a tough gym?
Yeah, there is no cupcake games, which is good because like I said, you have a couple times during the year where, you can almost chalk up a win. This conference, there is none. So, if you learn how to win in these games when it comes playoff time, you're prepared and ready to go for that season. So,
obviously, this is your first year in the league. How's the first run around going, and how do you feel like how many years until Bellwood can maybe really make an impact in this league?
Great question. I thought going into this program, I thought it was going to take a 3 to 4 year turnaround. We got to start from the ground up, elementary up through. And, a lot of the teams that are in the Laurel Highlands have been doing that for years. So they're established, ready to go. So we were behind the 8 ball. But like I said, I see strides, from elementary to junior high to varsity. So hopefully that benefits us here, next year into the following years.
And the other team we were going to talk about today, Portage. Portagetown did this 2 years ago. They went from the Westpac to the Heritage Conference. And I believe last year, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, both basketball teams did well.
Yeah, both of them.
And Portage Wrestling, again, they're a numbers problem. They have good individual wrestlers, but I don't think they have enough wrestlers where they're going to win a lot of dual meets. Yeah. So, and I don't know how much that's affected them as far as wrestling from Westpac to the Heritage. But as far as basketball goes, the boys kind of struggling a little bit this year.
Yeah,
right?
Last year they played United in the Heritage Conference Championship game, which is amazing to go straight into the conference and play in the championship game your first year. They had an injury to Andrew Miko, if you remember. He got hurt before that. So they came up short against United in the championship game, but did go on to win districts. This year it's been a little bit more middle of the road, but once it gets to the postseason, they have as good a chance as anyone because they almost knocked off Conemaugh Valley recently, and Conemaugh Valley, as of this broadcast, only had one loss. So Portage can beat anyone, and I think in that competition level that they're getting, they're going to play a lot of teams that are the same size as them. And if you look at the girls, that's where I think the biggest advantages to being in the Heritage Conference, because you look at just last year, River Valley and Homer Center were both in the state championship game out of the Heritage Conference. Penns Manor has been a good team out of that conference in the past. Andy has covered Bellwood girls when they've played some of those Penns Manor teams, and Blairsville that used to be River Valley. Some of those teams you've seen over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were just talking a little bit before we came back here. We were talking about the Cosmac girl from Homer Center. She's she's at Mount Aloysius now. What did we say?
She did. She just got named Division III basketball. Yeah. She's top 10 in the country in field goal percentage. She's first. Rebounding And there's another double doubles, and that's a girl that played at
Homer Center.
Just
And also played in the Mirror, and also played in the Mirror Classic.
Free plug.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll talk about that thing later in the spring.
Yeah. So obviously a lot of history there, a lot of historically really good programs there in the Heritage Conference.
And then Lance Hudak just recently celebrated somebody who's very young looking, but he's coached a long time because he just won, Mike.
He just won his 300th game, and before he, actually the night before he won his 300th game, he sat down with us and we talked to him about this transition into the Heritage Conference.
Hi, Coach Hudak. So, since you have gone to the Heritage Conference, it's been very competitive. River Valley, Homer Center, you guys have been to the Final Four. Penn's Manor's been to the Final Four in the past. What's that been like for you guys to go in there, and how good of a fit is it for you guys?
Small school conference, double A schools and, triple A with River Valley, just so competitive. You got to bring it every night, top to bottom in our conference. There's no easy nights off, and it's just, it makes everybody better. You look, at the 2A standings right now, and 4 or 5 schools from the Heritage Conference, I believe, are in the top 10, and with River Valley and AAA, just very strong basketball teams. That these teams are they're so tough too. They play so hard. There's the skills there, but they prepare and they just play so hard, and it's just a war every night, and it's good.
And so for you guys, how beneficial has it been for the move to come into the league, and every night you're getting a lot of good battles, whereas before maybe there were some more lopsided games?
Without a doubt, prior in the Westpac, there was, the girls knew, and you were going into the games that, you could just basically show up and you were going to come out victorious. Not anymore. You got to prepare at practice. That day before, we're going hard. Really, going over what we need to go over to be successful. Because anybody can beat anybody night in, night out in the Heritage Conference because it's so strong. That aspect is great. But also just the stability of the Heritage Conference and knowing you're going to have a JV game each night, which just makes the flow of the night so much better. Having those underclassmen, those younger girls that might not be getting that varsity playing time, they're going to still be out there. And, right now I'm watching our JV game, and I'm always watching these kids that are, our first, second, third, fourth off the bench. Who's playing, tough tonight? Who looks really good tonight? And that's in the back of my mind all the time. Who am I going to bring off the bench first, or, guard-wise, or maybe inside? And also, competitiveness, stability, and just the overall conference and what they stand for as far as, athletics, one thing, but academics, the arts, activities, what they do with the KCAC up in Indiana, how they bring this all together and showcase, our whole conference. It's just top notch, and we're just so happy to be a part of it.
And now comes to a new part of our new show. So this is going to be called Jumping Off the Page. It's a segment where we're going to discuss some stuff that you would see in the wintertime and you're going to see eventually in the spring about our roundups. We have the boys basketball roundup, girls wrestling. We cover swimming. We have rifle. We have gymnastics. We used to have indoor track and field, but we haven't really gotten anything from the coaches on that. But it's out there, I know. And anyways, we're going to start with Mike, then we're going to go to Andy, then I got something for mine. Mike, what do you have that jumps off the page for you from the Mirror?
Well, just noticing, typing these in every night, I see this year that the Hollidaysburg hockey team, as of this recording, is 12-0. And not just 12-0. They've been really pummeling opponents, and it's different people scoring goals every night. Last year they obviously lost to State College in the championship game. And it's pretty clear that they're out there as the favorite in the Laurel Mountain Hockey League this year. And these kids are really motivated to avenge that loss from last year. That's really jumping off the page to me when I type in these results every night.
And they have a kid on their team that I know of, Isaac Miller, and forgive me because I can't name some other kids on that team. They have a goalie. Last name is Dewey. He's pretty good. Isaac Miller, I can remember when he played Little League, and he was 2-3 years younger than the kids he was playing against. And Mike knows him. He's also a really good golfer.
Yeah.
He's a good golfer. He's not just a hockey player, but I know he is just one of the reasons why they are undefeated. And they've already beaten State College.
Yeah, and that's a good combination because actually Sam Lafferty was a really good hockey player, as we know. He's in the NHL now, and he made a run to states as a Hollidaysburg golfer once upon a time.
That must be a hockey golf thing there.
It's like Happy Gilmore.
Great
that's
reference.
good.
I
did not put that.
And I love that, man. What do you think about it? What jumped off the page for you, Andrew?
Okay. Well, I don't think we saw any of this in the paper per se, but we are at late January right now, and in the wrestling world, that's kind of getting to be the end of the regular season already. Because pretty soon, like early February, we're going to be going to the dual tournaments and everything, state duals, and then middle of February, we're already in district wrestling. But the last weekend of January is also always an interesting one around here. You have two tournaments, not in this area per se, not in the Mirror area per se, but not far out of it either. The Thomas Chevrolet tournament in Bedford and the Ultimate Warrior tournament in West Branch. Both these tournaments, Thomas Automotive tournament, 28 teams in this tournament. That's probably bigger than the District 6 tournament, the AA tournament. That's unbelievable. Central Cambria, Huntington, Northern Bedford, and Penn Cambria go to that tournament. And listen to this, the Ultimate Warrior tournament. I don't know if any of you watching this have ever been to West Branch High School. I'm sure you guys maybe have.
Was it in Allport or Morristown?
Well, that's a good point.
I've been there for baseball.
Whole other discussion. But not a very big school, but here they are. 44 teams go to that tournament, and it's incredible. Altoona, Bellwood, Cambria Heights, Claysburg, Hollidaysburg, Juniata Valley, Tyrone. Those are the teams that we have that are in that tournament. But you have Reynolds, arguably one of the best wrestling programs in the state, and they go there. A bunch of Whitfield schools, Penn Argyle out east. I mean, that tournament is
Are they 2 days or 1 day?
These are both 2-day tournaments.
And they start probably, by noon on a Friday,
I want to say Friday morning they start.
Friday morning, so those kids are getting out of school, and then they go back 8 a.m., like on a Saturday.
Very early Saturday. Those are two very long days for those tournaments.
What was a day like that for you when you wrestled in one of these big tournaments?
You know what? I always liked it because you got out of school on Friday to go to them. That was always fun.
But he's still a pro-education person,
right.
even though he's enjoying getting out of school.
But those are two very long days, and probably one of the best things about them, I think, is you really get to know the kids from other schools. Like, you might do that in baseball too, and maybe even football a little bit. But probably out of all the sports I ever did, wrestling was the one that I got to know people the best from other schools. And that's one of my favorite things about wrestling, honestly.
And then closing my jumping off the segment, I was trying to look for something, different things that they stole my thunder there. But I know we do rifle here, and we only have two teams in our area, Portage and Bishop Carroll, that have rifle teams. But the next time you see that in the paper, take a second or two and read it up. They're co-ed, they're boys and girls, and a lot of the times the girls are the top shooters on each team. Mm-hmm. And you don't see that in other sports because even in swimming, girls swim against girls, boys swim against boys. In rifle, you're shooting against just other shooters. You're not shooting boys or girls. But I just wrote down some names. Bishop Carroll has two girls that have won or finished second in several events this year, a Carly Shute and a Lauren Behe. And then for Portage, Bella Coben, and I think Mike might recognize his name from softball, Sydney Castell or Castle. But she's either finished first or second. Again, and not to take anything away from the boys, but we always wonder, especially with basketball, we used to always have somebody around here who worked in the sports department that thought, a girls basketball player couldn't beat a boys basketball player. And that may be true. But when it comes to this sport, it doesn't matter if you're a boy or girl. If you're a good marksman or markswoman, you can be good at this sport. And that jumped off the page of me that girls are just as good, if not better, in this sport than boys. But that's going to do it for our first Scholastic Mirror. I had to make sure I get that into my head. Our first episode here, Scholastic Mirror. It's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on public access, channel 13. Read the Mirror. Look on page 2 for the TV waves when we know for sure what days those are going to run. But we know you can find us on YouTube. That's going to do it for our first episode here. We're going to have to write that down, get Dan to kind of like engrave January, whatever today is, 23rd, 2024. That is the first taping of our Scholastic Mirror. But for Mike Boydham, for Andy Stein, for Dan Eisberg behind the camera, I'm Scott Franco. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.